Embracing imperfection means letting go of the idea that everything has to be flawless before we begin. Too often we hold ourselves back because we're afraid of failing or looking unprepared, but this drive for perfection can keep us stuck. Real growth and progress come when we're willing to take that first step, even when things aren't neatly tied up or fully polished. When we embrace imperfection, we allow ourselves the freedom to try, stumble, and learn. It's in these imperfect moments that we discover our strengths and build resilience. We start to see that it's not about getting everything right on the first try, but about showing up and being willing to make adjustments as we go. Embracing imperfection is about giving ourselves permission to be a work in progress. Taking ownership of your story means recognizing that you are the author of your own life. Every experience, every challenge, and every triumph is part of a narrative that belongs uniquely to you. When we take ownership, we stop waiting for external circumstances or other people to define our direction. Instead, we step fully into our journey, accepting responsibility for both the parts we're proud of and the parts we're still working on. Owning our story doesn't mean we ignore the difficult chapters or pretend our struggles never happened. It means acknowledging them as valuable parts of who we are. It's about understanding that while we can't always control what happens to us, we do have the power to choose how we respond and how we move forward. By taking ownership, we shift from feeling like passive participants to becoming active, engaged leaders in our lives, shaping our path with intention and courage. Finding strength in vulnerability is about realizing that openness is not a weakness. It's not a weakness, but one of the most courageous acts we can undertake. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we show up as our authentic selves without the masks or defenses we often rely on to feel protected. It's in these moments of vulnerability that true connection happens. When we share our doubts, fears, and dreams, we create space for others to do the same, and we build deeper, more meaningful relationships. Vulnerability also pushes us to step into the unknown, to try new things, and to risk failure. It's a form of bravery that requires us to embrace uncertainty, knowing that we might stumble along the way. But in taking those risks, we build resilience, learn from our experiences, and grow stronger. Vulnerability is not about exposing ourselves recklessly. It's about being willing to share the parts of us that are real and imperfect. It's about allowing ourselves to be seen fully, knowing that our worth isn't tied to our successes or our image, but to our willingness to show up as we are no matter what. Setting small, attainable goals is about breaking down big dreams into manageable steps that keep us moving forward. When we have a large goal, it can feel overwhelming, almost paralyzing, because we don't know where to start or how we'll ever reach the finish line. But when we focus on small, specific actions, each step becomes a building block, a steady progression towards something greater. Small goals create momentum, giving us a sense of accomplishment that fuels our motivation. Each small victory reminds us that progress is possible, that we're capable of growth, and that we're moving closer to where we want to be. These smaller steps also allow us to adapt and adjust our course as we go, learning from each experience without the pressure of achieving everything at once. By setting attainable goals, we give ourselves permission to grow in stages, recognizing that success is not about taking one giant leap, but about the consistent, dedicated effort that brings us closer to our vision. Recognizing the power of showing up means understanding that simply being present and engaged is often the most important step. It's easy to get caught up in perfectionism, wait for the right conditions to act. But the truth is, progress starts when we decide to show up, regardless of how prepared or confident we feel. Showing up consistently builds discipline, keeps us connected to our goals, and reinforces the commitment we've made to ourselves. When we show up, even on the days when we don't feel like it, we're telling ourselves that our goals and growth are worth the effort. It's not about being perfect every time, but about bringing our whole selves to the table, embracing whatever we have to give at that moment. Showing up is what keeps us moving forward, reminding us that we don't have to have it all figured out to make a difference. It's about taking one small action, knowing that each effort adds up, each step creates momentum, and each day we choose to be present, we're building the foundation for lasting change. Rewriting the definition of failure means shifting our perspective from seeing setbacks as dead ends to viewing them as essential parts of the learning process. Instead of letting failure define our worth or discourage us, we can choose to see it as a stepping stone, a necessary part of growth that gives us valuable insights into our strengths and areas for improvement. Failure doesn't mean we're not capable. It simply shows us what didn't work and pushes us to try new approaches. When we redefine failure, we allow ourselves to take risks, knowing that each attempt, even if imperfect, brings us closer to our goals. It's about understanding that failure isn't a judgment on our abilities, but an invitation to dig deeper, to innovate, and to build resilience. By viewing failure as an opportunity for growth, we free ourselves from the fear of making mistakes and open the door to discovering what we're truly capable of. Turning comparison into inspiration is about shifting our focus from self-judgment to self-motivation. When we see others achieving something we admire, it's easy to feel inadequate or left behind. But rather than letting comparison make us question our worth, we can choose to let it fuel our own drive. By celebrating others' successes, we remind ourselves that if it's possible for them, it's possible for us too. Instead of feeling intimidated by someone else's achievements, we can let their journey inspire us to reach higher, recognizing that we all have unique paths and timelines. Each accomplishment we see can serve as a reminder that growth and success come in many forms. Embracing inspiration over comparison helps us focus on what we can learn from others, opening our minds to new possibilities and creative ideas. When we let go of envy and replace it with curiosity, we create a mindset that celebrates progress, sees potential, and invites us to build on what resonates with our own goals. Celebrating progress, not just results, means valuing the journey as much as the destination. Often we get so focused on achieving the end goal that we overlook the small victories along the way. But true growth happens in those in-between moments, the times when we put in the work, make incremental changes, and push through challenges. Recognizing progress helps us stay motivated as each step forward reinforces that we're moving closer to our vision. When we focus only on results, we risk feeling discouraged if things don't happen as quickly or perfectly as we hoped. Celebrating progress allows us to acknowledge our effort and dedication, building confidence and resilience in ourselves. It reminds us that success isn't always about crossing the finish line, but about the commitment we bring to each stage of the process. By honoring each step, no matter how small, we cultivate a mindset that appreciates growth and encourages us to keep going. Speech, get up and get it done. Today, I want to talk about the importance of getting up and getting it done, a call to action that resonates deeply in our lives. Each of us has dreams and goals, but often we find ourselves hesitating, held back by the weight of perfectionism or the fear of failure. The first step in our journey is to embrace imperfection. We need to let go of the idea that everything must be perfect before we begin. Real success comes from starting even when we feel unprepared. It's okay to learn as we go and to be a work in progress. Next, we must take ownership of our story. Our lives are ours to shape, and each experience contributes to our unique narrative. We are the authors of our journeys, responsible for how we respond to challenges. By embracing our story, both the triumphs and the setbacks, we empower ourselves to navigate our paths with intention and courage. In this journey, we will also find strength in vulnerability. Being vulnerable means showing up as our authentic selves, which fosters connection and trust with others. It's a courageous act that invites us to step into the unknown and embrace uncertainty. In those moments of vulnerability, we learn about our resilience and the incredible capacity we have to grow. To move forward, we need to set small, attainable goals. Breaking down our dreams into manageable steps makes them feel achievable. Each small victory we achieve fuels our motivation, reminding us that progress is possible. These incremental steps allow us to adapt and learn without the pressure of needing to accomplish everything at once. We must also recognize the power of showing up. Often, half of success is simply being willing to engage even when it's challenging. Consistency builds momentum and trust in ourselves. Each time we show up, we affirm our commitment to our goals, reinforcing the idea that we don't need everything figured out to make a difference. Let's rewrite the definition of failure. Rather than seeing failure as a negative outcome, we should view it as a valuable teacher. Each setback offers insights that lead to growth and innovation. By embracing failure as part of the journey, we can take risks and push beyond our comfort zones. Instead of comparing ourselves to others, we can turn comparison into inspiration. Each success we witness can serve as motivation for our own journey. If others can achieve their goals, so can we. Let's celebrate their accomplishments while using them as fuel for our aspirations. Finally, we should celebrate progress, not just results. Recognizing our efforts, regardless of the outcome, fosters a positive mindset that encourages perseverance. Every small step forward is a victory worth acknowledging, and each celebration builds the resilience needed to keep going. So let's get up and get it done together.